video games have often touched upon the honor of men and manly figures. Games like Red Dead Redemption and Ghost of Tsushima explore the nuances of personalized honor in a particular society, be it the rigidness of Japan's Bushido Code or the youth of a new country trying to establish itself as a land of laws. However, I don't think any video game in today's zeitgeist has touched upon the personalized ideas of masculinity and a man's place in the world better than Like a Dragon. The Like a Dragon franchise, formerly known as Yakuza in the West, follows a group of men and their personal struggles against a world leaving them behind. Similar to Arthur Morgan and John Marston in that regard, but where LED takes it a step further is through the constant evolution of the characters through the franchise. And what a cast of characters do we have? Each of the Yakuza protagonists and mainstays are so fun and unique in their own ways that I always enjoy going back to those games and living with them again. It's like a friend you haven't seen in a while. And don't get me wrong, these guys are criminals. We don't have to fully romanticize crime to say this is what masculinity is. However, we can take lessons from people from all walks of life, including people who have committed crimes, even if the lesson is as simple as don't commit crime. In this instance, I do feel like it's a bit more nuanced. As I mentioned, each character is grappling with their own sense of identity and finding purpose in an ever-changing world. Kiryu. In the original Yakuza game, Kiryu has it going for him. He is respected in the streets of Kamurocho, he's about to get his own Yakuza family, and he's about to propose to his longtime girlfriend Yumi. This all goes away when his honor forces him to take the fall for a crime he did not commit. Yakuza protagonists and taking the rep for crimes they didn't commit go hand in hand. If we're being honest, this isn't even Kiryu's first time, but more of that on a later date. Kiryu takes a decade-long sentence for this crime to do two things: atone for not protecting Yumi from Sohei Dojima, Kiryu's boss, but also to repay his best friend Nishikiyama for protecting Yumi by killing their boss, and by allowing him to be there to support his dying sister. Say what you will about the man, but this is the moment where Kiryu was cemented as a protector to me, which is the first positive masculinity trope of this franchise. Men must use their strength to protect. Even before this pivotal moment that sets up the main rising action, we are introduced to Kiryu defending a lower-ranked Yakuza from getting killed by his captain, Goro Majima. A fan favorite character for sure, and has his own masculinity traits that we will dissect in another video. For now, let's stamp that Kiryu is a protector. Remember Nishikiyama? Kiryu's best friend who he took the rep for? Well, Nishiki was always the second fiddle to Kiryu, so to speak. The two of them were like Mario and Luigi, Sonic and Tails, Batman and Robin. Being completely honest, Luigi, Tails, and Robin can all hold their own, and, in some aspects, be better than the number one. I do think Nishikiyama had that potential. However, instead of being in a situation where he found success and used that to spur him forward, he failed. Consider this. Imagine Tails had lost against Eggman in Station Square. Despite the fact that he is a brilliant mechanic and inventor, and that Sonic depends on him, and he's only 8 years old, which unlimited potential, that loss would consume him to the point where he always relies on Sonic and never finds his own strength. He doesn't fight Eggman on the arc, and when Sonic dies, his will dies too. What if Luigi lost against King Boo? He spent that whole game rising above a clear and present fear, and was immediately punished for that. What message would that send to him? What about Jason Todd? His desperate attempts to escape before being caught in that explosion anyway. All that does, all that failure teaches you is that you aren't good enough. That is what Nishiki faced when Kiryu went away. Except the difference here, not only did his sister die after he failed to secure the funding for our operation in time, not only was he played and disrespected in the underworld, but his own family, his own clan, said he was nothing without Kiryu. He didn't just get to feel like a failure, He was repeatedly and explicitly told he was. This is emblematic of real world phenomena. Consistent degradation of a person's self worth will lead to serious outcomes. Some people, some young men, will do whatever they can do to not feel weak anymore. They will do whatever they can do to get power, to feel masculine. Masculinity is sometimes incorrectly thought of as primal or raw power. The athlete is considered more masculine than the nerd. And there are good reasons to believe that. Typically, those who are faster, stronger, and sturdier have more physical power. However, if I were to ask you who has more power today, the President of the United States or LeBron James, I'd hope you recognize that LeBron James is undisputedly the greatest basketball player of all time, no glaze. But Trump started a trade war with China. Braun Ball got that kind of juice. So, wait, despite the fact that Trump has way more power than LeBron, LeBron is the more athletic specimen. In this case, who is more masculine? The answer is neither. Power isn't really what defines masculinity. Masculinity is what defines masculinity. Can you protect your people? Are you strong enough to do that? Are you strong enough to defend your loved ones? To do so, you do need power, yes, but it's only one step of the equation, not the full gambit. I would even go as far as to say that power without purpose is as self-destructive as it is destructive. This ties back to Nishikiyama. This is completely off topic, but there is something about villains with slick back hair that I absolutely adore. Especially when you first meet them and they have this shaggy or messy hair, but once they embrace that dark side, their evil nature, the hair becomes slicker than the words they be speaking. You think like Aizen in Bleach. I think it's so cool because to me it's emblematic of like they are changing their outward appearance to match that inside, that regression or that true character that they really are in inside their heart. That was completely off script and off topic, but it's just something that came to my mind right now and I want to say it. Nishiki is the perfect example of power without purpose. Real purpose. He doesn't really have anything to protect besides himself and his own honor. Meanwhile, Kiryu, fresh out of jail, thrown into a battle for 10 billion yen, but he is more worried about looking for Yumi, who went missing, and protecting this little girl who claims to be related to Yumi. Her name is Haruka, by the way, and she's absolutely precious. We must protect, especially while she is so young, because as she gets older, she starts to piss me off. I have to wonder if this is what fatherhood feels like. Newly minted adopted dad Kiryu is still protecting even after protection got him burned. Even after he realized he made the wrong choice because of what Nishiki became. I think that's what it really means to be a man. Even when you make mistakes, you still have responsibility to those around you. Nishiki finally does realize this by the end of the game. Then he makes a choice that will atone for his mistake the only way he can, sacrifice. As Kiryu once sacrificed for him, Nishiki will sacrifice for Kiryu, Yumi, and Haruka. The power a man wields is potent. However, the strength of their power isn't really the most important thing. The most important thing is how it is wielded. Michael Franchise said,
It taught me, you know what I always believed? I believed that strong men are dangerous. But you know what I really found out?
Right.
Weak men are more dangerous.
Absolutely.
And power in the hands of weak men is more dangerous.
I think that is half true. Nishiki was weak, not because he wasn't as physically hulking like Kiryu, but because he succumbed to the pressure and vice. He abused power. Plenty of people are born weak. Plenty of people fail their big moment to break out of the shadows. The difference is a strong person will stand up and keep fighting, fighting to protect what matters to them. There's also the topic of Stoicism. Stoicism is a hot topic, and honestly, it has been for years. I would also argue that it has been misconstrued and misunderstood since the inception. And while I do realize the hypocrisy in what I just said, that is in part the beauty of philosophy, right? Even the great Stoics wouldn't exactly agree on every single principle after all. That being said, absorb the useful, discard what is not, and add something in that is uniquely your own. Briefly. In LAD, Kiryu represents the ideal Stoic. Marcus Aurelius and a Seneca be damned. While, yes, again, a criminal, Kiryu is the representation serving others at the cost of yourself. I mentioned Marcus Aurelius, who is the authority of my main interpretation of Stoicism. The principles that Marcus Aurelius rooted into his philosophy are prudence, fortitude, temperance, and justice. Let's break these four down. Prudence is the ability to take things slow and think them through. If you are prudent, you are cautious. This is important as a virtue simply because it is important to be able to self discipline yourself in moments of crisis. You need to use reason. Looking in Yakuza, Kiryu is one of the more level headed characters we see. Yes, he will rush into action when needed, but canonically, rarely is fighting his first choice. It is when the fight is inevitable that he gets into action. Consider the actions he takes in the original game. He actively seeks out information before making big decisions. I would argue that's like the whole main reason that he went to go see the floors of Sai. He needed information before he made a move. Next is fortitude, which is resilience to rise to the occasion. To not be afraid of conflict, but rather face adversity with courage. This is Kiryu's bread and butter. Of all the virtues, I do think Kiryu embodies all four in some aspects, but of all the virtues, his fortitude is, without a doubt in my mind, the strongest, followed only by his justice. Justice is the unilateral upholding of fairness. It is the meaning between selfishness and selflessness. If you are too selfish, you are not benefiting others or the world, only yourself. If you are too selfless, you risk harming yourself to the point you can no longer be beneficial to the world. Kiryu finds this balance perfectly eventually. Granted, yes, he did take the fall for Nishiki, and that ended up destroying a lot of lives. Once he is released, he takes a larger role in his own personal interests. This could be exemplified when he relinquished his chairman position after bringing a sense of stability to the Dojima clan. Temperance can be argued as Kiryu's weakest. While we rarely see Kiryu canonically drink or visit those phone booths, he does consistently do something detrimental for pleasure. I'm not going to say he does it excessively that it diminishes his temperance, but let's be honest. He ain't get cancer from no radioactive waste.
俺はな、ガンなんだ。For breaking the law, breaking the world 壊せ切り裂けてんだね For breaking the rule 六法全書じゃ縛れない波乱分子さ振り上げた握り拳が俺たちのジャッジメント
I call this his weakest because he doesn't exactly show enough opportunities for me to find solid examples of temperance. I'm only going off of what I do have, which is his love for smoking. Now, looking at Nishiki, he's very much the opposite of these values. It's his folly that allows him to be manipulated so easily, and that ends up tragically costing him his sister. That also plays into his timidity. He is afraid to stand up and be his own true person. That is what leads him down a road of injustice and opulence to the amount of excess. I don't think Nishiki is a bad character. I actually love him. I think he teaches a very valuable lesson. I love his flaws, and I even love the humanity that he does have underneath. And Yakuza 0 really does wonders for his character, but it's telling that in a game like Ishin, he plays the role of a straight hater to Ryoma. I mean, even in Yakuza 0, I felt some type of way when he was about to old yellow my bull. it's a tough choice, and I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation, as I have never, and I hope to never be put in a position like that. But I would also hope that I wouldn't snake my friends. To me, this aspect of seeing Kiryu as a rival and an obstacle to overcome was always a part of Nishiki, and when left unchecked, it ran rapid, as we saw Nishiki for the flawed man he really was. A fish who could never become anything more. Not because he was a fish, but because he didn't understand what it really meant to be like a dragon. I hope you enjoyed this video. You found something useful in it. Whether you're a fan of the franchise or you've never heard of it, or you've heard of it but never actually played it and you're thinking about picking it up, I do hope that this was beneficial for you in some way. If you are going on your own personal journey of self-improvement, I hope this was beneficial in some way. And if you disagree and you want to make a comment saying how much you disagree and you want to tell me exactly which part you disagree with, feel free to do so, man. Like, talking about philosophy, philosophers argued all the time. I think it's because philosophers argued and had these discussions that they were able to understand the other side and grow their ideas. Because ideas really only grow when they're challenged, you know. I do have a plan for a Majima and an Ichiban video coming up. I think I want to do Majima first and then finish off with Ichiban because I really, really, really love Ichiban as a character. I think he's my favorite protagonist in the franchise. Um, which, I mean, look, I like Yagami a lot too. I think there's a lot to be said with him. But I kind of want to keep it in like the main Yakuza cast for now. But Ichiban, man, there's just something about that character I think inspires a lot. So I definitely want to save him for last as far as that. So, Majima coming sooner than the Ichiban one. But both of those will be coming soon. All right? In order to make sure that you don't miss them, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give it a like if you really did like what you hear. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks for checking it out.